Welcome back. This is episode 6 of Crypto Options from Zero. For 5 episodes, we've been building foundations. You know what an option is, what its price is made of, you know the Greeks, and you can read volatility. And in all that time, I have not once shown you what a real option looks like on a screen. It's a bit like teaching you to read every dial in a car without pointing out where the steering wheel is. Today we fix that. We start with the first thing you'll see. It's called the options chain. The name sounds intimidating. It's a table. And the logic behind it is simple. At the top, you pick an expiry date. That's the list of dates. A week out, a month out, a quarter out. Each date has its own table. Down the middle you have strikes, lowest to highest. 60,000, 62, 64, and so on in $2,000 steps. And along the sides, calls and puts. Usually calls on the left, puts on the right. That's it. Pick a date, find a strike, look at the price. Now one row up close. Bitcoin is at 67,000 and I'm looking at a call struck at 67, expiring in a month. There are 4 numbers in that row worth caring about. The first 2 are prices, and we'll come back to those in a moment because they matter more than they look. The third is volume. How many contracts changed hands today? The fourth is open interest. How many positions are open right now? How many contracts are still alive? The difference between them is simple. Volume is movement. Open interest is state. Those last 2 columns are easier to grasp once you see them drawn. This is volume by strike. Each bar is 1 strike, and the height is how many contracts traded there today. You can see straight away that trading doesn't spread out evenly. A handful of strikes take almost everything, and the rest sit empty. And this is open interest by strike. Not today's activity, every position currently open. Notice that the tallest bars sit at round numbers. 60,000, 70, 80. The same data can be split into calls and puts separately. Then you see not just where the trading is, but which side it's on. And the same thing in the other dimension, by expiry date. That shows you which dates the market is clustered around. Usually month ends and quarter ends, because that's where the largest contracts expire. For now, just hold on to this. These charts show you where people actually trade, what that means, and how to use it. That's next episode. Today, you need them for one very practical reason. You'll see why in a second. Back to those first 2 numbers in the row. An option doesn't have 1 price, it has 2. Picture the board at a currency exchange counter. There are always 2 numbers on it. Buy and sell. You want to buy euros, you pay more. You want to sell them, you get less. The difference stays with the exchange. The options market works exactly the same way. The price you can sell at is called the bid. The price you can buy at is called the ask. The ask is always higher. The gap between them has a name, the spread. Concretely, bid 2,350, ask 2,450. You buy at 2,450. If you wanted to sell it in that same second, you'd get 2,350, $100 down before anything happened. That's the cost of simply getting in. 4% of the premium handed over the moment you click. And this isn't a scam. Somebody has to be on the other side of your trade, ready to buy or sell at any moment. That somebody charges the spread for it. Stay with the exchange counter because it leads to the second important thing. The same company, downtown and at the airport. Downtown, the gap between buy and sell is pennies. At the airport, it's 10–15%. Why? Because at the airport you have no choice. Nobody there is competing for you. The options market is identical. And here's where that chart from a minute ago comes back. Remember how volume didn't spread evenly? How a handful of strikes took almost everything? Those strikes are downtown. Plenty of people trading them, tight spread. The empty ones are the airport. Take a strike 30% away, expiring in 6 months. The spread there can run 30% of the premium or worse, which gives you a rule worth applying from your very first trade. Before you click, look at the spread. If it's more than a few percent of the premium, think twice. Because it isn't a one-off cost, you pay it going in and again coming out. You can be right about direction and still break even, purely because you entered an illiquid strike. Third thing, which I skipped earlier to keep things simple. Now is the right moment. When you see the price of an option, that isn't always what you'll pay. Think of a wholesaler. The shelf says $2 each, but they only sell in packs of 100. You won't spend $2. You'll spend $200. In options, that number is called the multiplier. On US stocks, one contract is 100 shares. You see a premium of $2, you pay $200. That's the single most common source of shock for beginners. Crypto is easier. On deribit, one Bitcoin option contract is 1 Bitcoin. The multiplier is 1. The premium you see is the premium you pay. One wrinkle worth knowing. On deribit, the classic contracts quote the premium in Bitcoin, not dollars. You see 0.03. That's 3/100ths of a Bitcoin, which at 67,000 is around $2,000. The newer contracts quote straight in dollars. The mechanics are identical. The only difference is the currency your profit and loss shows up in. Check this once, on your first trade. After that, you won't have to think about it. Fourth thing, what actually happens on expiry day? Start with when you're even allowed to exercise an option. There are two styles: European. You can only exercise on the expiry date itself, and American, anytime before it. Bitcoin options on deribit are European, so you can't exercise early. But careful, because this is where people get confused. You can't exercise early, but you can sell at any time. Those are two completely different things. We covered it last episode. Most people simply sell the option rather than waiting it out. All right, but say you did wait. What happens? First thing, you don't have to do anything. Settlement happens by itself, automatically. There's no exercise button to press. Second thing, and this surprises people, nobody sends you any Bitcoin. Settlement is in cash to cash. The exchange works out the difference and pays you concretely. You hold a call struck at 67,000. On expiry day, Bitcoin is at 72,000. Your option gave you the right to buy at 67. The market pays 72. The difference is $5,000, and that's what lands in your account. And if the option finishes out of the money, it simply disappears. You pay nothing extra. Your loss is the premium you spent at the start. Before you open any position, it's worth seeing all these numbers in one place. That's what an options calculator is for. I'll show you one live in a moment, but first, a tool like that looks overwhelming at first glance. A dozen fields, 2 columns, a chart at the bottom. So before we go in, let's establish how it's built, because the logic is simple and it's always the same. A calculator has 3 zones. Zone 1, on the left, what you fill in. 4 things: whether you're buying or selling, call or put. Which strike? Which expiry? That's it. Everything else on the left is detail you don't need to touch at the start. Zone 2, on the right. What you get back. What you'll pay, where your break-even sits, how much you can make, how much you can lose. And Zone 3, at the bottom, the payoff chart. It shows what you'll have at different Bitcoin prices on expiry day. You fill in 4 things, you get a complete answer. We start with a thesis. Bitcoin goes up over the next month. So I pick a long call. I'm buying the right to buy. Now the expiry. 30 days, not the weekly. The weekly would be cheaper, but Theta would eat it far faster. We know that from episode 3. Now the strike. I take the one at the current price. Delta will come out around a half. I'll catch roughly half of Bitcoin's move. I could take a strike further out, and it would be cheaper. But then Delta drops, and I'd need a much bigger move to make anything at all. That's the trade-off from episode 2. And here's the premium. That's the price of one contract, and it's exactly what I'll pay, because the multiplier is 1. I enter how much I want to invest, and the calculator works out the number of contracts for me. No mental arithmetic. Now the interesting part. Here are the Greeks for this exact position. Delta tells me what I make if Bitcoin moves $1. Theta tells me what I lose if a day passes and nothing happens. These aren't abstract concepts from episode 3 anymore. These are concrete numbers for the option I'm about to buy. And straight away, something practical. Look at theta and compare it against the premium. If theta is 1% of the premium per day, that means time alone costs me 1% every 24 hours. The market has to move faster than that for me to break even at all. On the right, I have the results. Break even, the Bitcoin level where I actually start making money, and max loss, which on a bought option always equals the premium. I can't lose more, even if Bitcoin halves. And at the bottom, the payoff chart. This line shows what I'll have at different prices on expiry day. The flat part on the left is my maximum loss. No matter how far Bitcoin falls, I lose exactly that much and no more. Where the line crosses zero, that's break even. And everything to the right of it is profit, rising in a straight line with the price. That's the full picture. I know what I pay, what I can lose, where I start earning, and how the position behaves along the way. And notice one thing. At no point was I guessing. Every decision had a reason, and every reason came from something you already know. 4 things to take from this episode. 1. The options chain is an ordinary table. Pick a date, find a strike, look at the price. 2. The price comes in pairs. Bid is where you sell, ask is where you buy, and the gap between them is a cost you pay going in and again coming out. 3. Before you click, check 2 things. The multiplier, so you know what you're really spending, and the spread, so you know what you're handing over at the start. 4. Bitcoin options settle automatically in cash on the expiry date. But you can sell at any time, and that's what most people do. And one more thing, more important than those 4. We walked a complete trade today, and at no point was there any guessing. That was the last episode about how a single option works. From here on, we look wider, not at your own position, but at what everybody else is doing. You saw those charts for a moment today, the ones showing where people trade. Next episode, we come back to them properly. You'll learn where the largest positions on the market sit, who opens them, and why that moves the price of Bitcoin itself. See you in episode 7.